Coming from. Welcome, everybody. Oh, well, I went down a little rabbit hole this morning. Oh, love the rabbit holes. Love the rabbit holes. Oh, grab your coffee, grab your tea. Come on in. Join me. Let's have a sit down. Let's have a chin wag. Yeah. Come on in, everybody. Come and join me. I am. Who am I? Who is this crazy lady on here? I'm the Guru Mama, Mary June Tracy, psychic medium, spiritual love of life coach, an astrologer, a woman who wants to bring you the 411 of the shenanigans of above, so below, and all around through the different realms. So, yeah, so welcome to a another crazy day on planet Earth. So welcome everybody. Thank you. Um so let's just I can't help but talk about the eclipse. I got to talk about the eclipse. So and then we'll get into some of the astrological weather that's happening as well, other astrological weather that's going on. So, first of all, in the United States, in was it Indiana, just is one of the first states to call a state of emergency. Now, Texas has already stated, you know, to be on high alert. They haven't made it a state of emergency. So when a state or even a province declares an emergency, what happens is that money that is going to a certain place, everything gets reallocated to that emergency. Now, the reasoning for wanting to do that or say that it's going to be a state emergency is that of the influx of people coming to that state and what that is going to cause for the state on the infrastructure of it. Now, I sort of like, okay, that's all right, but you guys all had a really big one back in 2017 that went across the United States. And I mean, most of the people in that state or in the area wherever the eclipse was going across the US one that went from west to east, people cashed in. People were going down there camping, hotels and motels and campsites and everything were all booked up. Uh, People really cashed in on that as they wanted to see it. But now they're really worried about everybody coming together. Now remember, was 2017 with that one. Prior to that certain date that happened in a certain time that wasn't long ago when a certain people were told to take a certain thing that all that was. And here we are. So Indiana. They're also in some states, and I'm not sure which ones, they're closing schools and having the schools closed. So we have that. So some of the schools are going to be closed. Some of them are saying if you wish to have your child out of school, that's fine. We understand. So it's really, again, it's a lot of fear. A lot of this fear is going on. Now, along with all of that is, of course, we've heard about CERN. Now, CERN is in Switzerland. Switzerland or Sweden. I get those two mixed up all the time. I just do. Anyways, that is a big machine and it moves the particles and the atoms and the protons and around so that they can find the God particle. They want to find the God spark. Now, I've listened to some of the physicists talk about it, and they're like, oh, it's nothing, we're not doing anything, it's just something we do all the time, and we're just sort of discovering new ways of working with the energy so we can have cleaner energy and all whatever their rhetoric is. But they have the goddess Shiva outside, which is the god of death and destruction. I mean, that would be, just as bad as having, if you had Kali out there. But at least, Kali, I mean, I don't think they would put Kali out there because Kali would be the one who'd kill Shiva. Just saying, because Kali just doesn't put up with shit. She doesn't put up with evil. Like Kali is the goddess that steps on the backs of evil and pulls their head off and sucks their venom out so that they can't hurt anybody anymore. Shiva just is destruction. I'm just going to destroy everybody because I'm just pissed off. So they have this great big statue outside there. And you're just like, okay, if this is a scientific place, why do you have Lord Shiva out there? Just, you know, interesting to think about. Now, a little bit about Lord Shiva. I mean, usually, and this one is the brass dancing Shiva, and he is a Hindu god. And Lord Shiva is the supreme Lord who creates, protects, and transforms the universe. So he's also known as the god of death and destruction. Um, so Shiva holds one of the most prominent roles in Hinduism as the god of destruction. He is one of the three most important gods, along with Brahma, which is the creator, and Vishnu, the preserver. So the sect of Shivaism holds that Shiva is the supreme being, which all other gods are an aspect of. So they're bringing this statue, and they have done ceremonies, which they're really trying to take off the internet right now. Uh, Anytime any of these ceremonies are filmed, it's not too long that they're taken down. So I found when I was trying, because I saw the about 2 3 days ago, I was watching one. I'm just like, holy shit, like this is a satanic ritual, just in some of the um just in some of the moves they were making, and the dance that they were doing, and then the sacrifice that they're making. It was just very not it just gross. It was just bad. So is it bad? It's just bad. So here they have this Hindu god. Now the thing is that Shiva is part of what they call the Hindu Trinity, which also, as I said, Brahma and Vishnu. So if you're going to have one god, why don't you bring the other three? Because then at least you have the balance. But no, we're just going to bring in the one. So they have the one god that's out there. So they're looking at trying to destroy something, trying to, you know, alter something within the reality and within our world. Then, of course, we have the thing that's going on with NASA, and NASA's just saying, "Oh, we're just doing this for exploration and blah blah blah." I honestly think what they're doing is wanting to open a portal. I think this is all about opening a portal or some form of portal, right? Um, and NASA's rockets at the eclipse, they're calling, what are they? Firing rockets at the eclipse. Uh, let's see. The jets have custom noises that can carry specialized scientific. Yeah, so they have scientific instruments, but there's, again, they have named it after a goddess of destruction. Like, it's not like they named it Nancy. The god, here, we're going to fire Nancy up. No, they named it after a goddess of destruction as well. So we have these people who are wanting to utilize that of the eclipse. Now, the eclipse, we have eclipses all the time, right? This one just happened to be a particular one that's going through the United States. We will not have another eclipse like this for another 350 years that goes through North America. And we've had them, 2017, then we had last year in 2023, the one that came from coming through the upper west of the United States, so Washington, Oregon, went all the way along the mid states through through the midpoint of where this eclipse is going to be hitting. And it's like, they say it's an X, but I think it's also a crossroads. My little witchiness comes up. Doesn't it look like, yeah, it's an X, but a crossroads an X. So what is at the crossroads? What is coming in at the crossroads? Because a lot of things can be conjured up in a crossroads. Now, if anybody who's a practicing witch, or even a pagan or a druid, or anybody in the occult, when I've taken things to the crossroads many times to rid things, like put things there, and then I leave. Uh, and I've also gone to the crossroads to ask for directions, ask for help and guidance as well. So the crossroads is a very powerful point, and it can be utilized for so many different reasons. I've always used it for positivity, to help and for guidance, not necessarily to um, cause harm or evil upon anybody. And I feel like there is a crossroads that's coming in now. This portal, um, and that brings in Hecate. So I got Hecate coming in, which is another goddess that is like we call her one of the dark goddesses because she doesn't put up with any bullshit, and she she does run the realms of the graveyards, and she does bring in her coffin and utilizing her energy and putting the stuff in the coffin so it can be buried and put away. Hecate is a very powerful goddess as well. And I think she's really one that if people are, I'm going to say, if you're scared or anything with this, I would actually ask her for the help and guidance and protection to have around you. She just came to me. I just thought of her now, and I wasn't thinking about her before, but man, it's just like I just got her energy coming in because she is, a she might be a dark goddess, but she's also a goddess of understanding and love. So, I mean, a lot of people don't put that on her. So, let's do goddess of the crossroads. So I don't have my books in front of me. So, goddess, she's a Greek goddess. She rules over the night magic in places where three roads meet. Major temples and shrines uh, were built to her. She works a lot with, helping women too. So she's a very much a for helping. She's another goddess that really likes to help the underdog and work with the people who are needing help in some way. Whew, I just got like a dizzy spell when I'm bringing up her energy. I just got like, whoa. Um, if you want to, you can read more up on her, but she does. I mean, she is a very interesting goddess, and she is a goddess that does bring in the three aspects. So there's the mother maiden and crone as well with her. Um Hecate, like she is I'm gonna say a chief goddess. She presides over magic and spells. Um she is, that pillar, that doorway, that energy, and she helps to keep evil spirits away. So she does have that power that's around her. So Hecate is a very powerful goddess. So I was just thinking of her as I was, of the crossroads or the X that's coming in with this eclipse. Now, eclipses, as I say, they happen all the time. This one happens to have a comet that comes through, and yes, we get comets every so often that come through. We have Halley comet that comes by. We had a comet that came through in 20, a green comet that came through in 20, which was very ominous. The thing is, when we have anything to do with comets or with eclipses, we call them omens. And omens can be good or bad. And we have these omens that are coming in. And these are, I feel, in through my astrology study and my witchy studies, is that these are transformational times. These are even portals for us to really go through in order for us to grow and to create more and to become more powerful within our own selves and have the authority to be able to do the things that we want to do. Now, on the flip side, there is a lot of baddies out there that don't want you to utilize this energy in a positive way. They, I'm gonna say like CERN or like NASA. I mean, these are places that would rather, try and harness it for what they want to do. And this is where part of my sort of kind of going down one of the rabbit holes is Nephilims. Now, Nephilims were fallen angels that came to Earth, and they're in the Book of Enoch. And the Book of Enoch was taken out of the Old Testament because it didn't correlate with what the Jews wanted with the Torah. So it didn't jive with what they wanted to be said, kind of thing. So we have the Nephilims come, and the Nephilims were thought of very strong beings that came, giants, but they mated with women, just like the Fae did. Okay, so I mean, when man went on to the Isle of Ireland, the Fae were everywhere, and many of the Fae did mate with human and have the human blood. That's why you see some fays, you see fairies walking around, or you see somebody and you're like, holy fuck, that's a fairy. Or you see somebody who's like, man, they look like an elf. They have the Fae blood in them. And you see that quite often. So the Nephilims, on the other hand, are ones that they weren't nice, right? When the fallen angels came to Earth, or the aliens, or however you want to look at it, a lot of them were not nice. They wanted control. So they want control over this realm. So this realm is controlled by the baddies. And these baddies, the Nephilims and that, had offspring. And these offsprings continued on, and these offsprings continue on. You see these offsprings in different areas of our world. And that sort of made me kind of think, because one of my little rabbit holes is, I'm going to say something, and I know this is going to be crazy, and it's going to be one of those tinfoil hat things. But my way of thinking is that we have a certain person, with really nice hair that is a part of Canada, and his mother was a slut. His mother and father, I mean, they were known as swingers, right? And I feel like she might have allegedly met up with another offspring that was a Nephilim. So in creating what we have today, in creating that. And I think there's many different levels of these entities that are in this world. Now, they do have control over this world. I mean, this is, they fall into this world. They went against the higher powers, the God, and it was through that, just follow me here, please. It's through that we have been given a choice. Like, you can follow this and buy into it. And you know what? Sometimes we do. Sometimes we get pulled into it, or we get into a belief system, and we fall into it. And then, of course the truth comes, or we get woken up and we're like, holy shit, this is crazy. And we've seen it recently, where many have we're taken advantage of with all of this. And this is where, the choices, the opportunities that we are going to have, especially over the next year or two, that you have the authority to overcome this. It doesn't matter if you've fallen recently into the spell, or into what they are saying, or into the spell that they are going to be putting out for this eclipse. That's what they've been doing. They've been really working on they've been working on their spell work. That's what they've been doing. They've been working on their spell work. And this is where you have the power to counteract that, because you have been given the power. We all have been given the power. But sometimes we forget that we do have the power, right? And that's where we have beautiful goddesses like Hecate and Kali who can come in. But I wouldn't, if you're going to choose, you got to choose one or the other. Do not work with them both at the same time. Okay. We got two big pillars that sometimes don't get along really well. They might have the same kind of outcome, but they have different ways of doing it. Okay. Just an FYI. So you have these two beautiful energies, these two beautiful entities that want to come in and work with them. I'm pulling for Hecate more than Kali because it's a crossroads. It's an X that's coming in. And looking at that crossroads on what, and I just feel like, as we're, as I'm feeling this energy, the pulsation of it and feeling the pulsation as it's moving outwards from this. This is where it's, giving us that opportunity for us to rise above, to en- empower ourselves more, because this is going to, when people are in a fearful state and you're not, it's just, it's it's quite hilarious. Like, for instance, last night when I went to work, and I walked in there, and these God bless them, I just love them. They're just like, "Oh my god, it was such a day, and we had all of this happen today, and it was like this, and it was like this," and they were just, like, going on, and they're just in such a state over all kind of crazy things that happened, and I'm just like, "Mhm, mhm, okay, alright, and?" You know? It's like, I'm not going into your craziness. And then, and then she goes like, and if this happens, we might have to evacuate and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, all right. If we do, then we do. That's cool. You know, and it was quite, it was just quite interesting just to see it and see people just sort of, "Wah!" and in that freak out zone, and sort of like you're in the center of the freak out zone, just sort of, okay, that's fine. Just take a breath. And yeah, and and I was just, my main thought was like, when are you guys leaving? So that I could just sort of handle whatever is going on and just roll with it, kind of thing. And I feel like that's sort of that's the power, that's the authority, that you have within inside yourself on where you want to put that power and where you want to put that energy into it. And there is just a fear, and the fear comes from evil. The shoulda, coulda, wouldas come from that part of ourselves that wants us to doubt ourselves, that wants us to feel less than, powerless. And that's what Satan, evil, whatever you want to call it, wants. They want that. They don't want empowerment. They don't want you to be empowered. And this is where, in calling, in going in Indiana, or take the state of Indiana and saying it's a state of an emergency. And it's not even, it hasn't even happened yet. Right. And they're freaking out over it. And it's like, holy shit. So what is everybody's going to be like, oh my God, what if, oh my God, if the grid goes down, what are we going to do? Oh my God, if the internet goes down, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, breathe, just breathe, because we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to get through this, but we're going to know that we have the power. We have the power to bring that forth. And if you have any fears, hand it over. Hand it over to your divine. Hand it over to your God. Hand it over to whom you need to hand it over to. If you are, hand it over to Hecate, right? She has that power, and I feel like she really does. If you want to, hand it over to Jesus. You could do that too, because you have that power. You have that power within you to stand up, to not fall into the fear mongering that is coming up over the next few days. And you're going to feel the intensity. And of course, Mercury's retrograde, which is going to make it even more intense, more intense. And it's in Aries. Like, this is fucking God of War. Like, okay, take a chill pill, because it's also springtime, even though you wouldn't know it here in Calgary, because we're getting 30 centimeters of freaking snow. Hello, hello. And and there's a snow warning until tomorrow morning. Like, whatever. But hey, we'll go with it. We know what to do. Worst case scenario, we hunker down and stay indoors. Don't go anywhere. Don't drive. If you can do that. That's it's like don't go into that crazy fear mongering energy because it really wants to take us down. And this is where you need to get, and be perseverance with what it is that you are wanting to create. You got to be perseverance with what it is and where you want to go. We're starting to see so much that wants to take us down, where we are seeing even within you know our politicians and what they are wanting to do. And like, for instance, here's a for instance. In Scotland, the dude, I don't even know what his name is, anyways, the head of the party in Scotland who pushed forward this new bill, this new hate bill, hate speech bill. And it's, so that we don't exclude people. We don't want to exclude people, but we don't want to make them that, oh, I'm going to give them all the power, right? And so if you say anything wrong about them, then that's hate. Or if you misgender somebody, that's hate. I'm sorry. My saying still goes, you got a dingle dangle between your legs, you're a guy. I'm sorry, you're a man. You that's what you are. Doesn't matter. You can have the boobs. You want to have the boobs. I know a lot of guys with a dingle dangle have the boobs. They just probably ate too much. But that's the whole thing. It's like they want to make you fearful, right down to the Supreme Court in Canada has wanting to take the word woman out of the law, out of the rape law, and call it a woman with a V. Like, you're gonna call me a body part? What the hell? Right? So this is the awakening. This is where it's like, okay, where is this? I'm gonna go back to the Nephilims. Like, oh my God. They have infiltrated so many areas of our life that sometimes we don't even notice it, right? Because they're just there and they look like everybody else, right? They look like everybody else. But once they start to speak, once they start to say things, you're just like, holy shit, you are one of them, right? You are a part of them. So this is where you got to remember you have the power and authority to do it. You have been given that power and authority. You have been given that right. You are able to do that. You have you have to have the perseverance to stand up and to be heard. It is so so important. Because the other part too is in England, they are wanting to have a Muslim party. And I'm just like, holy shit, why? Like, no offense to any, like, no, I'm gonna say, okay, I know this is going to get taken down, but why do you want a, that as a part? Why do you want them as a party? Because in Canada, and this has been going on for years and years and years and years, that they have tried to push through Sharia law in Canada so many times, and it's been voted out. It comes in some sneaky handed way and it gets pulled out. And to think about it, because they're not interested in the infrastructure. They're not interested in the schooling. They're not interested in the health. They're not interested in making sure that the farmland is being taken care of. They're not interested in any of that. They don't give a shit about that. That's not what their interests are. And that again, I'm going to put that down to the Nephilims. I'm going to put it down to, okay, there's a bunch of evil there that really wants to take control. So it can make you fearful. So it can make you, oh my God, how could I say such a thing? So, you know, the energies that are coming in, and especially with this solar eclipse, I believe you could use it for such great power and to create such great power for yourself and to bring forth that power and authority within you and stand in that power. And when you stand in that power, you can create some beautiful, cool ass shit, you know, and allow yourself to shine. And shine shall you be. So, today, a few things. What's going on in some of the energies today? Well, we have the moons traveling through Aquarius today. So, you might find things go against the grain, and you want, fighting for the cause, standing for the underdog. Attraction, to all, this is a new, unusual, and instinctive need for improvement with this in here, plus Pluto's in here as well. So you're going to find reactions are more intellectual than emotional, and interactions are more impersonal than personal under this influence. So this is a time that promotes social gathering, dealing with groups. This is where you're going to find more people, like, you're going to find the more intensity as people are uprising, because it has to do with social activism. That's what you find when you have Pluto in Aquarius. More people are revolutionary. They're not so much emotional. It's an intellectual thing, right? And this is where it comes in, where it's more impersonal. This is where they just come in and they just say, hey, this is what we need to look at. And it's more of a logical way. And it's hard to stick, you might find it a little bit hard to stick to a schedule, as personal freedom is most important to you. So that's the other part too, is that you wanting to have the uprising, you're wanting to have the people that are wanting to come up and stand up, but because you want the freedom. You don't want to be set to any schedule. You don't want to be set to any, particular way of doing things. So you want to come forth and rise up and be that person who rise up. All right. So here we have this energy that wants to rise up. And Pluto's coming in and it's squaring over to our lovely Mercury. So in trying to get the intellect, trying to get the full information might feel a little difficult because you are just feeling just so inundated or so overwhelmed with it. So again, take your time, step back, don't try and feed into too much right now, but just have an overall understanding of the energies of and how you are feeling, and standing in more into your light and doing grounding. So bringing in things like, you can bring rose quartz in for grounding. You can bring in some emerald. I got a raw emerald that I have it around here. It keeps being moved. I put it one place and then it gets moved. Anyways, raw emerald, which is really nice. It's nice and grounding. Bringing in some black kyanite, even clear quartz could be a really good grounding for you if you want to bring that in as well. So we can bring in some nice grounding energies for us at this time. And the moon in Aquarius is generally favors the activities and unusual or radical undertakings, social pursuits, and group projects. And this is true too with Pluto, and Pluto's going to amplify that. So Pluto's going to be there for a little bit, but fully by the end of the year, he'll be in Aquarius, and we're sort of starting to feel it a little bit now because he's at 1 degrees, but we're going to feel it a little bit more with the activities as they start to feel more intense in and around us. So we have, Venus heading into Aquarius today. And with lovely Venus, gotta love Venus. Venus, when she goes into, where did she go? As Venus goes into Aquarius, it may feel a little bit out of sorts, right? So, I mean, this is where she wants to be charismatic, emotional, social life is rich, powerful, you know. And this is where a strong understanding of others, devout, passionate, where she's going to be feeling a little bit under the weather because she's going into Aries. She doesn't really like to be in Aries. Aries feels a little bit daunting on her. It feels a little bit too overwhelming for her. It's not exactly a place where she really wants to be. So obviously, and we got a lot of energy, like feminine energy that's in the air, and we do have a lot of mutable energy that's in the air. So things can feel like topsy-turvy and a little bit all over the place, with this energy. So again, we're going to take our time. We're not going to overreact with things. We're not going to get jumping the gun. This is really allowing yourself, taking that time. And as you take that time, it's going to give you a little bit better perspective of how you are feeling. So, and especially you can, and plus with that moon being in Aquarius, you might feel a little bit wanting to, I don't know, feel like almost wanting to, I guess, overanalyze things or be over intellectual with everything. So just be aware with that as well. So there you guys go. Let's pull a plant for the day. Let's pull our plant. Oh, stopped on a page. Bleeding heart. It's feminine. Oh, it's ruled by Venus, which is really nice. Its element is water. Power is love. Crush the flower. If the juice is red, your love has a heart full of love for you. But if it is white, he or she doesn't love you. When grown, the plant brings love, the bleeding heart. When grown indoors, has a reputation of producing negative vibrations. To forestall this, plant a coin in the soil, and this will be right. Ooh, I used to love bleeding hearts when I was a kid. My mom grew them all the time outside. So, yeah, so bleeding hearts. There you go, bleeding hearts today. And we'll pull a card, and this deck keeps calling to me. And please like and subscribe to my YouTube. Go to my YouTube page, and like and subscribe. I would love to get 1,000 followers. I have 200 now. And so, which is really cool. But I would love to get another 800 followers so I can get more of the astrology out to people and really start to promote more of the energies of positivity and love to people. Oh, these are really slippery. So what do we have? Jupiter return, the benefits. So Jupiter return is when your Jupiter, natal Jupiter, and your the transiting Jupiter meet up. So a Jupiter return it's positive. It's bringing in that positivity. It's a lot of the benefits come after Jupiter moves past. It's your natal Jupiter. So it opens doors depending on what house it's in. Usually brings in things like money, brings in something monetary for you. So there's a monetary gain that is coming in with a Jupiter return. So remember, we have a monetary gain that's coming in for us and allowing yourself to be stable. So I think the monetary gain or that stability is there. And we just have to remind ourselves and ground ourselves on a continual basis so that we don't get off and we don't feel so out of sorts. I'm going to just pull a couple tarot here. Yeah. So the queen is reversed. So yeah, so we got to make sure that we don't get too overly emotional with things, making sure that we continue to be stable and find that stability. Because if we get too overly emotional and watery with things, we are going to, we're going to be needing the perspective. We're going to have to stand back and take a look at everything so that we can see the benefits that are coming towards us and the benefits that are there. Call in Hecate in what you are doing. Ask her for her blessing and ask her to come forth and help and guide you and protect you in all that you are doing upon your journey today and throughout the weekend. So it's Thursday. I know we're heading into the weekend. For those who are wanting a natal Oh, not a natal, a moon reading, an astral moon reading, get a hold of me. They're coming out on Sunday. So if you are wanting a moon reading, they're $40. It's a recording. I record it. It's for you specifically, and I do a tarot reading as well for it. So get a hold of me, email me at thegurumom@gmail.com or DM me and order your reading today. So have a blessed one. Have a great one, and don't fall into any craziness out there. Have a blessed one. Bye-bye.